Yeah, this is going to be part 4-ish. Well, as you can see, I have a huge amount of staining from the fuel tank, which when I get a chance, I'll degrease that and wash that off there so it looks like a brand new fuel tank again. I'm only going to briefly talk about the exhaust because this is coming out exactly where I want it to, except for that pipe has got a weird bend to it. So we'll rebend it and take off this extension and clean this all up. I may repurpose this, I'm not sure, but I'm going to cut that weld and get him removed off of here. And after I get it straightened, this is exactly where I want it to be. I want it running right on top of that. As you can see, it does a weird wiggly thing I don't like. Okay, this one here is just way off. Okay, this one's running down the single exhaust canal there with the original hanger bracket too, I might add. But that has to come over here. So I need to go to my exhaust shop guy and have him make me an offset. And I have the pipe for it, so I'll have him make me an offset. So that goes down and over and under and ends up back out here. And then I may repurpose this one too. Not sure. As you can see, I big slobbery weld on there. Yeah, that's what was holding the tips on. That is by far nasty. Ew. If I did welds like that, I would prefer someone come and put me out of my misery. Okay, so the wheels and tires are still off. We're going to do a little body assessment things. I'm quite shocked that this part in here, especially on the passenger side of the vehicle, isn't rotted out completely, because that's common on the passenger side. So, yeah, I expected this. And I can take a chunk out of a B-body outer wheelhouse and make that all brand new. I don't know what Tom Herderts was talking about, saying that there's no space in a C-body wheelhouse. This thing, man, could I put some rhubarb up in here? Holy good God. I don't get that. One rectangular rust spot. Well, there's that other thing too, but still a little bit back here. Expected. This is pretty bad here, which is where the patch is in the trunk. But that is, again, I can take a section of B-body trunk floor and just splice that in and put plugs back in it, and everything's all good to go. I was quite shocked also to note that this was in really good shape. I don't know why that hole is so contorted out of shape there, that there should be a plug there. It should be a drain spot, and somebody's got a whole bunch of body plastic in there. That's going to get a patch put over it, I'm quite positive, because it'll drain from this spot right there. Okay, moving right along to the other side. This side, on the other hand, I'm going to get in there and vacuum all that crushed rock out of there, but seriously? So that's where you go to adjust the... Ooh, cobwebs. So that's where you go to adjust the window regulator? Through the inner fender well? Yeah, that's in pretty bad shape. That's just a simple patch. I'll hand make that and weld that in. But I'm going to vacuum, before this goes anywhere, I'm going to vacuum all that garbage out of there and get that out of there, because that's just more problems. That is actually what the inside, I don't know if you can see this. Try to get this light in a spot that does some good. I guess it's just not, okay. So that's actually a shot right down the rocker. So that's a really solid rocker. Now, back here, we kind of have the whole gaping wound thing, which is exactly what I expected. The wheelhouse is exactly what I expected. Same as the other side. Ooh, you can see daylight through there. This doesn't bother me. What I hate, though, in getting into is the trunk floor extensions. And this one's nice. I mean, it shouldn't be, but it's nice. It's just nice. So I'm happy with that. Then again, we have the underfloor problems. And that's just go buy a B-body trunk floor and start making patches, chopping chunks out. And yeah, so there's rust damage. Now, what I'm going to talk about is this episode is going to be setting up the suspension, and it's not going to be nearly as long as the past ones, but I have replaced the stock shocks with air shocks for a specific purpose. This is a bigger car, so it carries more weight in the back, and I wanted to be able to control my ride height and the stiffness, because this car pitches so bad when you go into a curve. There's the one thing that going on the highway, it floats like a boat, like everybody says, you know, going down the highway. But you know what? You go into a curve at any kind of speed, it rolls really bad, and it's not only rolling in the front, but it's rolling in the back. This is going to control the roll in the back, stiffen up the suspension a little bit. Also, if I do happen to put a trailer hitch on the back of it, I can adjust things there if I decide to use it for pulling boats for the showmanship of our shop. I'm not sure if that's going to happen because I bought something else, which we'll talk about later. Soon as we get a chance for a really cool road trip. Ow. Just hit the tire again. I should just raise the car up higher. Okay, so the other thing I've done is I gave the torsion bars about 4 turns to start with. I don't want to get overly crazy about this whole situation, but sometimes somewhere between 4 to 6 turns stiffens the front end up without raising it up too awful much. Now the idea is not to knock the camber way out of whack, which is the tip of the tire at the top. So inward or outward, you want just 0 camber, so the tire basically runs flat on the ground. The ball joints and everything else are good to go. This adjustment screw turned fine because of slobbered engine oil all over it. This one I've lubed it up 3 or 4 times, but it's still really sticky. Usually I just take and will warm them up a little bit and back them out of there, clean the threads, put some anti-seize on it, and put them back in. I'm not opposed to doing that, but I don't think I need to. At this point, we'll wait and see. Again, I gotta get out here. I can do stuff. This whole exhaust system thing, I'm just gonna say one thing. If I had the funding available, I would definitely be opting for a MagnaFlow system and throw the whole damn thing away instead of doing what I'm doing, because I absolutely hate how this one's run in here, and as you can see, it's damn near hitting the floor, and I'm sure a couple good bounces it hit the floor. I don't like that bracket. There's just so much about this I hate, and it's just not the way I do things. So at some point in time, the glass packs are going to be in the dumpster, and there'll be a nice MagnaFlow system in this, but for now, I just want to drive it and get it out there and see what she's going to do, and have her earn her salt around here going to pick up parts and that sort of thing. So I'm going to finish up the running of the lines, and I'll show you how I did that in just a minute. The air lines, that is. All right, air shocks installed, and that's the fill hole right behind there. We're going to follow the lines and explain some things. You start right there, and I tucked it in behind the fuel tank. You can see a line going in there, and I actually used this is for like boat wiring harnesses, just as a guide piece for it, and it also helps hold it in place. I could have put some tape on that on the thing too to kind of tighten it up, and I may choose to do that, but the point was to hold it tight up in this groove. There's an actual groove, as you can kind of sort of see, running down that tank, and that's where the line goes. It's shielded from the exhaust. And so we're going to go around here, take a quick look at how I routed this. I don't smack my head on everything again. Okay, so came out of here with a little bit of slack for suspension movement and what have you, and teed everybody in here. You can see I did the same there. Everybody just comes across, and of course I tucked it behind everything I could tuck it behind. Heat is not your friend. These little plastic rubber crap lines that they send with the Monroe shock kit leave a lot to be desired. Now, I'm going to tell you, these things are finger tighten only. So all these fittings, you finger tighten them. That don't mean gorilla paws, because you'll crush the line. You very easily can crush the line, but you tighten them. Now here's the thing, put air in them, put about 40 psi in them, and just go back and check them again and make sure they're tight. You know, don't just go shove a 160 or 150 psi in there, because that's the range they say, from 40 to that. So that's done. Next, tires go back on. Well, we got 4 paws on the ground, tiger paws even. So everything's all done back here for now. I'm gonna check riding height. I'm gonna be back in a minute with that. But I happened to see something I thought was quite interesting. Anytime you're cranking up torsion bars and raising the riding height, I'm going to tell you right now, if you look down the side of the car, hopefully you can see that. You can see that it's tipping in at the top. Not ideal. It's going to wear on the inside of the tire. If you get them up too high, that's why they're adjusted where the factory wants you them adjusted. So if you're going to change the riding height of the car to something ridiculous and extreme, you have to go get the front end realigned. Now, the other side of this whole situation, if you raise it up just slightly, so when you go into a corner, and got to think stock car for a minute, because they always tip the right tire outward. Okay, so when they go into the curve, it bites. Okay, but so if you use this mentality here, then when you go into a curve with this, it's going to want to pull the car around. It's going to want to make the curve easier. But if you don't have the suspension to handle that, with the tightness of the suspension and a damn good gas shock, it's going to be pointless. It's going to handle like crap. Now, I have got this thing set up exactly how I set up my B-bodies. So we're going to, when the weather stops being stupid, we'll take it out for a test drive and adjust accordingly. So this part of this whole thing is done and over with, and we're going to move on to something more fun. Yeah, well, I did say more fun. Well, so remember those. We'll get to that in a minute. These are the pieces, rusted pieces after all the spot welds were drilled out, and I peeled them out of there. Oh my God. So anyway, those belong in the receptacle. And so anyway, so here's what I done. I now have these all set up, spot welds drilled. These are pretty weak around here, but you know what? They don't have to do much, but just hang out and look pretty. So I'm probably just going to spot weld these back in, because whatever rusty material is gone. Yeah, it's gone. So if it leaks and seeps a little bit around there, which I won't let it do that, because I'm going to have them stick far enough through. So they're going to stick through about to here-ish, something like that. So, so that they'll be able to transfer both sides. But anyway, just wanted to show real quick that these are fitted and ready to go. Both of them are all good to go. So at some point, I will be getting back to putting that together. I will not be putting this together until it's on the car, because I will fit everything. My garage, my rules. I never did hang that up. That was more or less for my son's benefit. Anyway, back at the ranch. That's where we're at with the exhaust. full stop. We have to bend a whole bunch of pipes in the back of the damn thing to even be able to make these even work. So, yeah, I'll let you know when I get back to that. Well, we're going to put some closure to this exhaust because it was exhausting. Parts had to be made, pieces had to be tweaked, things had to be reconditioned. I did paint that for the preservation of these to last a while, by the way. And made that part out of leftovers, made that piece new to zigzag that out, and welded all these connections so they're all togetherness. And on this side was more complicated because it didn't run down the frame rail like the other side did, and I had to make a part to make it do just that, which I don't know if this camera is really making me angry today. There you can see how it offsets and goes back under the frame rail, so I had to go get one of them made, and I know how to set these up so they end up where they're supposed to end up. And if I could put there and get the light maybe just right. Anyway, so got that all back together. I got them reconditioned, and they're really in really bad shape. They're, well, here, for instance, you can look through this hole and see how rotted out they are on the inside. So they're cooked. But you know what? For the purpose of this car as a daily driver, and I did spray some satin black paint on there just to hold things back so it'd look okay. And so another thing that was neat that I found at some point, not sure why, but these rear shackles and shackle mounts have been replaced not so long ago. Those nuts are like brand new. Don't know why, but they are. Maybe the bushings were bad. Somebody actually replaced them both on the back. Kind of makes me wonder what other fun suspension related things have been replaced. But I'm pretty happy with this, okay? So, got a nice little gap there when it sits on the ground. Well, you'll see it in a minute. So, I'll be right back. Yeah, like that. Sounds nice. Looks right, too. Neat. Well, the last thing I wanted to do with this little segment on this thing, now that we're all done with the exhaust system and suspension setup and air shocks, and I'm not exactly too happy with where things are at there yet because I haven't driven it, and I wanted to replace the spark plugs because I pulled one out, took a look at it, and threw up, and I figured, well, maybe it would be time for a new set because it does sputter a bit. And I'll show you why. These aren't super bad. Just hang on a minute. They're burning like they're, where are we? There we are. This camera has been irritating me to no end. Probably should clean the screen maybe. Can you see that? No, it's totally blurred. The camera is, there we go. Wakey. But that's not bad. But some of them were a little bit more oiled than that. And I'm sure at 125,000 miles, changing spark plugs frequently is not a bad thing. So we're going to pull these and we're going to inspect all of them. And I'll show you what that looks like once I get them all yanked out here. And we're going to plop some brand new Champions in here. And that's what Mopars love, is Champion spark plugs. We're going to set them, we're going to gap them, and we're going to throw them in, and then we're going to start it up and we'll see how happy it is. So that's the next step. I'll be right back. All right, let's have a take a gander at these sparking devices. And this one here was number 8. And she's looking pretty charcoaly and fouled, and so I'm thinking that may have been my sputter. The rest of them all look to be burning. Of course, my phone's working perfectly now, but there's some carbon and garbage on there, but not that bad. I mean, 125,000 miles, what do you expect? So she's got all new plugs in her now, but so 2 through 8 was looking that way, and this is a little carbon deposit there, a little oil burning there. But in all honesty, for 125,000 miles, this thing's burning pretty damn clean. I'm pretty happy with this. I do want to check the timing, and I want to check the dwell, because this is 69, so it's a points type. And so these are going to just get saved if I am in a panic and need a sparking device someday. I think they call them spark plugs, but I forgot. So this has been replaced, and honestly, I'm itching for a test drive. I don't know about you guys, but I want to hear how she sounds now too. See if she starts easier. See if we got rid of that sputtery thing. Yeah, pretty much. That sure don't sound like a 318 now, does it, boys? That just sounds nice. So, yeah, I got a couple things more to do, and we're gonna go for a test drive. Oh, there's that thing that mysteriously appeared on my steering column. Because hot rod. Well, as you can see, there's going to be a few more things that need some attention here. Number one, this really cool vintage REC tack. I dug through my archive of cool stuff. It does have some paint flying off of it, so we're going to have to refinish that. But I wanted to see how it was going to look in here, make sure it wasn't going to interfere with the steering wheel, which I got that set. I did buy the cheapest oil pressure gauge I could find on the planet, and I want that in here specifically. Oh, and I'm going to show you how to hook up the original sending unit and one of these together in tandem, so you can have no idiot light issues and stuff like that. So but I really want to know where I'm at on oil pressure on this thing. So this is going to find its way underneath the dash. There's already, I believe, a pre-drilled hole right there. So I'll probably put it like in that area, just out of the way, and I'll hook up with all the lighting and everything else, and the tack will all work and the lights will work, and hopefully I can get in and figure out what's going on with this switch here, because I have a dome light that comes on, which isn't very bright. So I wonder if this thing's even charging. I should probably check that. I've had intermittent charging problems with this before, and I know it was in an earlier video, and I just gave this thing its first bath, and it wasn't charging, and I smacked a voltage regulator with a hammer, and the points, they're a point type. This type in this era, before the electronic voltage regulator, was point type, and the points get corroded in there and they don't want to work, and they will eventually. They'll heat up and they'll get back to their normal self if you drive it enough, but if you don't take it apart and clean it, and it's the same thing for these old tractors, they got the same problem, and I've been through that too. So anyway, let's see what, and lubricating the door hinges would be a real positive thing, because door hinges. Okay, well, this is the new and improved stance. I think I'm going to probably put a few more pounds in the rear air shocks. It's sitting about the way I want it to, but I only have like 40 in there just as a baseline. I don't want a car that's going downhill. That's just stupid. That looks really nice. I mean, that came out a lot better than I thought it would. Also, going to make a point to say this, because I learned this from Tom Herder's. Did you know a 1970 Sport Fury GT came with these? I didn't know that. So, I know they came on the 70 Challengers, but I didn't know Plymouth ever adapted these onto anything, and so that's kind of neat. I think they look cool, personally, for all the headaches they were to put this on there. And, I don't know. The car needs to be, I'm going to do a patina buff. In other words, it's going to shine it up some, but I'm not going to disturb any of the patina of the car. In other words, you can buff and shine this up a little bit without destroying any of that. There's a way to do it without putting that nasty whale snot on your paint, which everybody, man, hates with a passion, because it's the biggest. I don't know, I had a pickup truck come in here to get some paint work done on it, and everything we shot on that thing would just fish eyes, and finally I told the guy, I said, either gonna have to pay me to strip this thing or something. I said, I don't know what the hell you got on here, and he told me put some patina juice on it. I think the car looks pretty cool. Anyway, time for a bolt ride. Well, here we go. Let's take this old bucket of bolts for a ride quick. See if I can steady this thing on my dash. GoPro would be really a handy thing. Yeah, sometimes I wonder if this thing actually shifts right or not. Sometimes it just shifts super slushy. So I think a shift kit is in order. I'd rather have it shift harder than softer. By setting up the suspension, this thing handles just like my 70 Charger. I can't tell any difference between this car and my 70 Charger at all. Just goes out there and runs down the road. Don't really like the glass backs, but they're not too obnoxious. You guys be the judge. Yeah, I like how the front end feels now too. It just handles so much better. I want a sway bar, but I don't know that I really need it. Want it, yeah. Need it? Maybe not so much. I love turning around in Butch's driveway. I wish the brake pedal was higher up, but it does brake perfectly. Now they got the brake set up right. It don't pull anymore. It just does what it's supposed to do. So pretty happy about that. And Butch is a Chevy guy, but he has one of the most badass 55 Chevs I've ever seen in my life. And he still owns, we grew up together, he still owns his dad's 67 C10. All original. Ooh, Jesus, I'm climbing a hill here. I almost spin out in Butch's driveway. Ah, he's watching. Let's see. When's he gonna shift out? Yeah, that's a smushy shift. I can't live with that. So we're gonna have to do something with that. Shifts out into third at 55, so I've entertained putting gears on this thing, but you know what, this thing should get down the road, do what I need it to do for the shop, and get probably 15 miles a gallon if I'm not in it all the time with the 2-barrel. And I thought about the whole 4-barrel thing, and I'm just not gonna do that. Rebuild the 2-barrel carburetor. That's going to come up in the next video. And I think I do have, well, I want to see what's going on with this compression test. I got to run a compression test on it because I got a cylinder that idle, it just doesn't You hear it in the exhaust, just foof, 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 foof. You know, it's not really doing anything. You pull the plug wire off, it's not doing anything. And that could be a carburation problem, but more than likely, it usually centers around a bad valve, bad exhaust valve, and that wouldn't be uncommon for the age of this car and the type of fuel you get your hands on today. So, just is what it is. So, I got to get inside the steering column too, because this signal light thing is beyond annoying. It's just laying down here and it don't really do what it's supposed to do. It's about ready to fall apart in the steering column. So steering column, tachometer, oil pressure gauge, and a few other things. So that'll be all part of the whole next video that we'll be addressing these things. And then of course we gotta clean up the finish and clean up the patina. I'm keeping all the patina. It's just going to polish up what it'll polish, so it'll look as good as it can. So there you have it. It's a Fury. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps me out with my struggle with the YouTube algorithm and such. Plus, I am at 457 subscribers, and I'm still going for that almighty goal of being 500 subscribers, so I can be what's considered a no-name channel, so I can go race people in Sykeston, Missouri. And that sounds fun.